Quick question. Do you know what an ISA is? If you answered yes, it's a savings account that gives you tax relief or a government bonus, you're wrong. And you're not alone. According to the FCA's Financial Lives survey, around 44% of UK adults believe the exact same thing. But for the ISAs most people actually use, it's not true. Here's why this matters. There are two main ISAs that most people choose between. And the one most people pick, the one that feels safer, simpler, the obvious answer, has quietly cost people tens of thousands of pounds over their lifetime. In some years, it might even be losing them money once you account for rising prices. I'm not exaggerating. The difference between the two options over 25 years works out at around £41,000. In this video, I'll explain, from the very beginning in the simplest language I can, what an ISA actually is, how the two main types work, why one of them has historically been the expensive choice, and what to think about before April 2027 changes the rules. I've spent the last few weeks going through the FCA's data, HMRC's own ISA guidance, and a stack of historical market figures so you don't have to. By the end of this, you'll understand what most of the country still gets wrong. Let's start right at the beginning. ISA stands for Individual Savings Account. The name is a bit of a trap because an ISA isn't really a type of savings account at all. It's better to think of it as a wrapper, like a jacket you put around your money. Picture this. Your savings are a pile of coins sitting outside in a field, and tax is the rain. When it rains, some of your coins get wet and shrink a little. That's the government taking a slice of your growth. An ISA is an umbrella. You hold it over your coins and the rain can't touch them. The umbrella doesn't make new coins appear. It doesn't make them grow faster. It just stops the rain. That's it. That's what the main ISAs do. In real terms, here's what that means. When you save or invest money in the UK, any profit, interest from a savings account, dividends from companies, growth from investments, can be taxed. But if your money is inside an ISA wrapper, that profit is tax-free. No income tax on the interest, no capital gains tax on the growth, no dividend tax. Nothing. Let me unpack those two types of profit. Interest is the first one. When you put money in a savings account, the bank uses your money, they lend it out to other people, and they pay you a small thank you for letting them use it. That thank you is interest. Right now, UK savings accounts are paying somewhere between 3 and 5% a year, depending on whether you can access the money any time or you're willing to lock it away for a while. So £1,000 in a 4% account, after a year, becomes about 1,040. That extra 40 is the interest. The second kind of profit is growth, sometimes called a capital gain. This happens when you invest your money. Investing means buying a tiny piece of a company, or more usually a collection of companies, and the value of that piece can go up over time. If you paid £1,000 for it and it's worth £1,500 now, you've made £500 in growth. Without an ISA, the government can tax both of those. With an ISA, neither is taxed. The umbrella works on both, so when 44% of people say ISAs give you tax relief, they're mixing ISAs up with pensions. Pensions do give you tax relief. That's the government adding a bonus on top of what you put in, the way I covered in episode 1. The main ISAs don't do that. Now there is one exception worth flagging. The lifetime ISA, sometimes called a LISA, actually does give you a government bonus. 25% on top of what you put in, up to a limit. But it comes with strings. The money can only go on a first home or retirement, and if you take it out for anything else, you pay a penalty. It's a specific product for a specific purpose. I'll cover it properly in a future episode. For today, we're sticking with the two ISAs most people actually use, and most people get confused about. The cash ISA and the stocks and shares ISA. Because here's where it gets interesting. A cash ISA is the simple one. Think of it like a sturdy locked box. Your money sits inside, it doesn't move, and every year the bank adds a bit of interest on top. That small thank you I mentioned. Right now, cash ISAs pay somewhere between 3 and 5% a year, depending on whether it's easy access or fixed term. So £10,000 in a cash ISA paying 4% becomes about £10,400 after a year. The big advantage of a cash ISA is that your money is safe. The number can't go down. And it's protected by something called the FSCS. That's the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. It's a government-backed scheme that protects up to £85,000 per person, per bank, if your bank were to collapse. So the money is genuinely safe. But, and this is the part nobody warns you about, there's a quiet problem eating into cash ISAs that most people never think about. It has a name: inflation. Inflation is just a way of saying prices go up over time. A loaf of bread that cost £1 10 years ago might cost £1.40 today. A bus ticket that was £2 might now be £3. Everything slowly costs more. Here's why that matters for your cash ISA. If your savings are growing at 4% a year, and the prices of the things you actually buy are also rising at 4% a year, your money isn't really growing. The number in your account goes up, but the amount of stuff that number can buy stays exactly the same. And if inflation runs higher than your interest rate, your savings go backwards in real terms. The number in the box gets bigger, but the things it can buy get fewer. Your money is quietly shrinking. In recent years, UK inflation has run between 3 and 6%. Some cash ISAs have kept up, many haven't. That's the hidden cost of safe. The coins get bigger in number, the things they buy get smaller. This is why the second type of ISA exists: a stocks and shares ISA. And I know, the word sounds scary. Stocks, shares, investing. Most people hear that and think, that's not for me, that's for rich people, I could lose everything. So let me explain it in the simplest way I can. When you put money into a stocks and shares ISA, your money goes into buying tiny pieces of companies. Not one company, usually hundreds, sometimes thousands of companies all at once. The way this works is through a thing called a fund. A fund is just a big basket holding tiny pieces of lots of different companies. When you invest in a fund, you're not betting on one company. You're spreading your money across hundreds. Think of it like planting a garden instead of a single seed. Some plants grow fast, some grow slowly, a few might die, but overall, the garden grows. Now, the garden doesn't grow in a straight line. Some years it grows a lot. Some years it shrinks. If you check your money after 1 year, it might be down. That's normal. That's what people mean when they say investments can move up and down. But here's what history shows. If you leave the garden alone for a long time, 10 years, 15 years, 25, broad markets have historically trended upward. Not every year, not in a straight line, but overall. A fund tracking the broad global stock market has historically returned around 7 to 10% per year on average. That's a long-term average drawn from decades of data, not a guarantee. Some decades are stronger, some are weaker, but the long-term direction has been strongly positive. And crucially, those returns have historically beaten inflation. The garden doesn't just grow in number, it grows in what it can actually buy. Unlike the box, where rising prices can quietly eat your purchasing power, the garden has historically stayed ahead. So how much faster does the garden grow? Let me show you the gap. Because this is the part that changes everything. You're 25 years old. You decide to save £200 a month. That's your number. 200, month after month, for 25 years. You never raise it, you never drop it. Before I show you the numbers, I want to be straight with you. What's coming next is an illustration based on long-term historical averages. Real-world results would move with actual interest rates, actual market performance, fees, and inflation. But the direction of the comparison holds. In the cash ISA, your money grows at roughly 4% a year. After 25 years of putting in £200 a month, you'd have somewhere between £103,000 and £115,000, depending on the actual rates over that period. That's £60,000 you put in, plus around £43,000 to £55,000 in interest. Not bad. Genuinely. £60,000 turned into around £110,000. But in the stocks and shares ISA, assuming the long-term historical average of around 8%, you'd have roughly £150,000. Same £60,000 you put in, but around £90,000 in growth. The difference between the two? Around £35,000 to £47,000. Same person, same 200 a month, same ISA umbrella. The only thing that changed is what was underneath it. A box or a garden. And remember inflation. If prices are rising at 3 to 4%, the cash ISA at 4% is barely keeping pace. The number grows, but the purchasing power doesn't. The stocks and shares ISA, with its historically higher returns, has had a much better chance of staying ahead. The garden grows in number and in what it can actually buy. And the reason it's so big comes down to one concept, the most powerful idea in money. It's called compound growth. Compound growth is when your growth earns growth. Imagine you push a small snowball down a hill. As it rolls, it picks up more snow. The snowball gets bigger, and because it's bigger, it picks up even more snow with each roll. The longer the hill, the bigger the snowball. That's exactly what's happening to your money. In year 1, your £200 earns a little growth. In year 2, that growth also earns growth. By year 10, the growth on the growth on the growth is doing the heavy lifting. By year 25, more than half of your total pot isn't money you put in, it's money your money made. And compound growth is more powerful at higher growth rates. At 4%, the snowball rolls. At 8%, it races. That's why the gap between the two ISAs gets so wide over 25 years. It's not a bigger percentage. It's a bigger percentage compounding on itself, year after year after year. The safe choice isn't wrong, but over 25 years, history says it has been the expensive one. So, which ISA should you think about? There's a simple way to work it out. It comes down to one question: when do you need the money? If you need it in the next year or two, for a car, a deposit, an emergency, keep it in a cash ISA. It's safe, it won't go down in number. You'll know exactly what you have when you need it. If you're not going to touch the money for 5 years or more, money for a long-term goal, money for retirement, a stocks and shares ISA gives that money its best historical chance to grow significantly. The garden needs time. The longer you give it, the wider the gap has historically been. Anything in between, 3 to 5 years, is a judgment call. Some people are comfortable with the wobbles. And something a lot of people don't realize, you can have both. You can run a cash ISA and a stocks and shares ISA side by side. As long as the total going into all your ISAs in one tax year doesn't go above £20,000, you're fine. That £20,000 limit is called your ISA allowance. It resets every year on the 6th of April, the start of the UK tax year. Now I need to pause on something important. The £20,000 cash ISA limit is changing. From April 2027, that's next April, for anyone under 65, the amount you can put into a cash ISA in a single tax year drops from £20,000 to £12,000. The overall ISA allowance stays at £20,000, but the £8,000 of difference can only go into a non-cash ISA, most likely a stocks and shares ISA. People aged 65 and over keep the full £20,000 in cash. What that means in practice. If you're under 65 and you've been parking large amounts in cash ISAs every year, this tax year, 2026-27, is the last one with the full £20,000 cash window. After April 2027, that window narrows. For most people watching this, that's not a crisis. Most people don't come close to filling their £20,000. But for anyone who does, or for anyone who's been thinking, I should probably learn about investing one day, the deadline is now real. Let's say you're convinced. You want to open a stocks and shares ISA. You'll need to pick a platform. A platform is just a company that lets you open the ISA and choose your funds. Like choosing which shop to buy the umbrella from. The umbrella is still an ISA. Different shops just charge different fees and offer different selections. Two of the most beginner-friendly platforms are Trading 212 and Vanguard. Trading 212 has no platform fee and lets you start with as little as £1. Vanguard offers some of the lowest cost funds anywhere and is one of the most trusted names in investing globally. Their minimum is typically £100 a month or a £500 lump sum to get started. Links to both in the description. And if you're thinking, but I don't know anything about picking funds, that's fine. Most beginners start with something called a global index fund. An index fund just automatically buys a tiny piece of hundreds or thousands of companies all at once. You don't pick anything. The fund does the spreading for you. It's the garden approach. So, what's the move? 1. Ask yourself, when do I actually need this money? If it's within a year or two, find a cash ISA with the best rate you can. If it's 5 years or more, a stocks and shares ISA gives that money its best historical chance. 2. If you're going for a stocks and shares ISA, pick a platform. Trading 212 starts from £1. Vanguard from £100 a month or a £500 lump sum. Both are linked in the description. 3. Choose a fund. If you don't know where to start, look for a global index fund. It spreads your money across hundreds of companies for you. You don't need to be an expert. 4. Set up a monthly amount you can actually keep up with. Even £25 a month is a start. The snowball doesn't care how small it is when it starts rolling. It cares how long the hill is. Time is the fuel. And 5. Given April 2027 is coming, if you've been sitting on an ISA decision, the 2026-27 tax year is the cleanest window to use the rules as they are now. After next April, the choice is partly made for you. If you want a simple checklist for the rest of this, the free Pounds and Cents starter kit is linked in the description. It walks you through 5 money checks, including how to think about your savings. Drop a comment too. Were you in the 44% who thought ISAs gave you a bonus? No judgment here. The system is genuinely confusing. Tell me what you want untangled next. Here's the truth about ISAs. They're not complicated. They're not just for rich people. And the main ones are not a bonus from the government. They're an umbrella. The kind of umbrella you choose, and how long you hold it up, could be the difference between ending up with significantly more or significantly less from exactly the same monthly saving. The safe choice isn't wrong, but over 25 years, history says it has been the expensive one, especially when inflation gets a vote. Now you know. Quick note, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a researcher. Everything on this channel is financial education. That means I'm here to help you understand how things work, not to tell you what to do with your specific money. For advice about your personal situation, speak to a qualified professional. I've put links to free guidance in the description. Subscribe and hit the bell. The topics on this channel build on each other. Miss one and the next won't land the same. Next week, something different. A real story. She earned £105,000 and lost £10,000 to a tax trap most people don't know exists. It's our first finance fail. When you hear what happened, you'll want to check whether it could happen to you. That's Pounds and Cents.